So imagine living day to day under constant pressure that you are not considered normal or accepted in society. This is what homosexual men and women go through on a daily basis. According to an article by the Williams Institute published in 2011, an estimated 3.5% of adults in the U.S. identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender. Being a family member of people who identify as homosexual, I can see what they struggle with and what the pressure they have on society to be heterosexual. Homosexual men and women have to deal with the unrelenting hatred and prejudice by society for being who they are. So first, I would like to show the problem our society has with people being homosexual. Then I will share why our society is unable to accept homosexual men and women. And lastly, I will talk about how our society needs to change their attitude towards homosexual community. So first, let's talk about the problem. Homosexual men and women have been considered non-conforming in our society for many years. They face harsh judgment, comments, and attitudes from other people on a daily basis. In order to be considered normal, people need to follow the traditional standards set by society, meaning men should be masculine and women should be feminine. Because of these standards, men and women are expected to look, act, and feel according to their biological sex and assigned gender. If someone acted otherwise, society's attitudes towards them would be automatically unaccepting and misunderstanding. As a society, we are afraid of anything different than what we are used to. And although many of us can say we're perfectly okay with homosexual people, we still do not fail to use offensive slurs, even if they are not intended towards homosexuals. As a man can lack muscles and other manly features, and he is automatically gay. A woman can have short hair and be seen in society as a lesbian. As long as they do not fit the standards we are taught, they are not normal to our society, and normal to our society is people who are heterosexual. So now that we talked about the problem, next we'll talk about why society is unable to accept homosexual men and women. Masculine and feminine cultural norms play a big role in why we are unable to accept homosexual men and women. We as a society misunderstand their way of life because of the way we are raised as children. At birth, we are all assigned our gender, and our society expects us to follow the rules of that gender. If anyone did otherwise, they would be judged and looked at differently. In the social construction of heterosexuality, Pepper Schwartz discovers that the baby boys are held less because they are being handled in a way that preserves their manliness, their heterosexuality, right from the start. Little girls are dressed in frillier outfits because they are supposed to be supremely adorable. Even at birth, our parents do everything in their power to preserve our masculinity and femininity. We are taught that girls should wear pink clothes, play with dolls, and have long hair. Boys should be tough, play sports, and like the color blue. As time progresses, we become accustomed to what we are taught as kids, making it difficult to accept anything different. Television and media has also influenced the way we believe men and women should look and act. In the article Social Construction of Heterosexuality, Pepper Schwartz states that the majority of culture creates icons in its TV shows and movies featuring models that tell us what exact gender displays heterosexual correctness. On television shows and in movies, most men and women are portrayed as heterosexual, with men exaggeratedly expressing masculinity and women showing their physical features. The media has created images of how heterosexuality should look and make the message clear that this is what is normal in our society. Now that we talked about why society is unable to accept homosexual men and women, lastly, we will talk about the changes that need to be made. Our negative attitudes towards non-conforming sexualities have been influenced by more than one reason. Unless our society chooses to relinquish these standards they have set on what is considered normal, we will continue to feel negatively towards homosexual people. Media and television will continue to show their image on what they portray as heterosexual correctness, and parents will continue to teach their children gender norms based on what they were taught as children and what they see in society. There will be no progression unless people begin to accept others non-conforming or conforming for who they really are. Homosexual men and women should not be judged for simply being themselves. As members of society, we should take a stand against people who are unable to accept the homosexual community. First, I discussed the problem our society has with homosexuality. Then I talked about why our society is unable to accept homosexual men and women. And lastly, I discussed why society needs to change. So just remember that there is nothing right or wrong with being gay. It's just the way we are, and society needs to accept that.